Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Growing Up Comics. This is a segment where I walk down memory lane and take you with me. Only if you want to. You could stick around and I will take you there. I'm not going to force you. But you might find out something about the history of comic books from my own personal perspective that you might not already know. This one I'm going to talk about is going to be a doozy in every sense of the word. This is, I don't even know how to say this. Goofiest, unbelievably awkward instances of comic books crossing over to pop culture. I'm talking about and it's timely because considering what tomorrow is. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope you're spending it with your loved ones. If you're seeing this beforehand, I hope you have arrived safe at your destination and you are looking at me as really from that guy who has the different political ideals of you and really won't stop talking about them. But nonetheless, this is pertinent to tomorrow's holiday. I'm going to talk about Marvel's Universe's Macy's Thanksgiving Day float. I don't know if you're alive to remember this. I know I am. I was, I believe, 16 when I first saw this. I was probably a junior in high school, and I was excited to see it. It was the first time I was going to see actual Marvel comic superheroes live and in person. Other than, of course, the Incredible Hulk and Amazing Spider-Man, who had TV series. Not a lot of the actual other characters, the deep dives from the Marvel's universe, would actually be seen in there. It's not like today where you have the Marvel Universe and practically everybody who's ever appeared on a page of a Marvel comic book has appeared in screen, usually voiced by a Shakespearean actor, and becomes big stars and stuff like that, and everybody knows their name. This one was basically a way of seeing all our my heroes live in a person with people hired to just walk around afloat wearing spandex. The first one appeared in 1987. It has corresponded to the return of the Spider-Man balloon of that year, and man, it was fun. You'll be able to find a full instance of this online on YouTube. There are the clips I'm getting for this I took from that actual clip, but I took away the sound just to make sure that I don't get hit. I don't see why, because the full thing is already up on YouTube and they don't seem to be getting hit. But I digress. It was amazing in how right it got some stuff and how bad it didn't get some stuff. The first one, the first installment of the parade, and it lasted for 3 years, 1987, 88, and 89. The first one, how do I describe it? Let's see. It was a play. It was kind of a stage play, but it was amazing by how much they got wrong. First of all, the music they played over the entire float was, and a lot of you geeks out there like me will recognize it, the Back to the Future theme song. Right off the bat, that tells you exactly how much thought and effort Marvel, or whoever designed this float, was putting into this presentation. Should we record an actual original theme for this? Nah, it's been a whole 2 years since Back to the Future came out. Should be no problem to actually, just use that theme again. Nobody's ever going to remember that film in another 50 years. So yeah, they're all doing their fights and dances and stuff like this, choreographed dance to that. To the theme of when Morty and went back into time. There's some good stuff in there. There's an effect with comic books, like I know you can see X Factor there, and like Captain America just walking out of the page, like he's walking out of the pages of the comic book. I thought that was a good effect. Other effects, not quite as good. As you can see, some of the costumes are just didn't really translate well. Daredevil's red spandex didn't really seem to shine all that much. For some unexplicable reason, they had the white Emma Frost, the White Queen, in there. I don't think even in the comic books that she was actually that active at the time. I don't I could be wrong, but I think like the biggest thing she did was might have been Generation X, and I think that happened a couple years after that. It might have started like in '87. I don't believe it did, but it might. Who knows? But she wasn't exactly, I think, the biggest villain to choose there. The lineup goes as far as I could see from the video was the good guys had Doctor Strange, Captain America, Wolverine, Power Man, RoboCop. I'll get back to that in a second. Daredevil and the Hulk. And Hulk was kind of like a mix of bad guy and good guy. The villains were Magneto, Enchantress, Doctor Doom, Emma Frost, and the Green Goblin. In Enchantress and Emma Frost, I think it's kind of redundant. You have one blonde bad guy wearing a bad woman wearing essentially a bathing suit. You don't need both of them. But I guess they wanted some sex appeal on this float that is going out to kids across the country. So we had both of them. RoboCop. RoboCop, as you may or may not know, was not created by Marvel. It was not even associated with Marvel much anyway, except Marvel did do the adaptation of the 1987 RoboCop movie and put it in there. And if anybody I loved the first RoboCop movie, and the fact that went on to spawn kid-friendly franchises just boggles the freaking mind. Nudity, gore, and violence out the wazoo, and here it is on a float for kiddies to partake. The 80s were a wonderful time, man. I tell you, you don't know exactly how wacky and weird the 80s were. But the whole thing is about, Captain America is talking to various people and stuff. You get the feeling Power Man didn't really have a big thing to do, but he's included in there just to provide representation. The Hulk has triggered the effect of the entire float, which is a building that is supposed to topple over, but it really doesn't. It stops halfway through. I still remember my feelings about watching this. Like the excitement I had about having this showing up, because I think it was released beforehand. Like Marvel was going to have a float in this, and certain characters were released and stuff like that. I thought it was going to be really, really awesome, and I come to see this and I was like, it's not even the fact that it wasn't exactly completely toyetic or kid centric or whatever. It just was bad. It was horrible. It was cheaply acted. It was cheaply pantomimed. It basically, it was just kind of bad, and it just, for me, I was just kind of embarrassed to be associated with this. Marvel probably was too, because next year they decided to go, as many floats in the parade do, decided to go into basically just having the characters back in the background, doing stuff, while a big name from Macy's, we know how big the big names are there, to your people on the way up or on the way down, but they had doing a song on there. I believe it was the 1988 was themed around the Olympics. They had a lot of Olympic stars on there. They had Carl Lewis, Janet Evans, Jackie Turner Kersey, people who won the gold at the Los Angeles, at the 1988 Olympics. I don't know if they were in Los Angeles or where they were, but wherever they were, these were the Olympians that represent our country and did well. So they were on there, and they were just hang out there. But the main draw was the Boys Choir of Harlem, who sang "One Moment at a Time." Very appropriate for the Olympics and the Olympic Championship. While the Avengers and X-Men and the bad guys kind of did stuff in the background. They weren't really intrusive or anything like that. They just basically, the whole thing was there to showcase the Olympians and the Boys Choir of Harlem. I don't have a video for this because while the entire 1988 Macy's Parade is on YouTube, I was not able to download that because the download program I use cannot download videos that big off of the YouTube. So you do not see the wonder of Janet Evans hugging a bunch of kids while Captain America poses in the background. The next and final year was 1989. This is when, of course, like Batman came out and comic books were starting to get a little more respect, but not in this float. The third instance of this float had featured Melba Moore, an R&B singer. She's not exactly a legendary name in the thing, and she wasn't back then either, but she had a certain cachet in her actual field of like what she was doing. She was in there and she sang "Holding On for a Hero." I love that song, but you can't get more cliched than having that song play on a float filled with superheroes. And there's a little plot line about how the bad guys were trying to attack her and hassle her, and Wolverine and Captain America had to fight them off, and then, little storyline doing that while the song was going on, and while Melba Moore lip synced the song to the audience. Wasn't much better than the first one. It wasn't as good as the second one, but it was kind of a fitting end to the whole thing. It was like you get to feel like the Marvel universe just didn't work as a parade float in this one. It wasn't quite as big enough. If it came a couple years later, it probably would have been bigger. But as it was an interesting little footnote in the Marvel publicity juggernaut during the 1980s, where they tried to get people interested into actual comic books by having people lip sync one moment in time and holding out for a hero for it. The entire, you'll probably see up here clips from it. I'm not going to show you the entire thing, but the entire presentation from the Marvel float is actually uploaded to YouTube, so you can use that up as much as you want. I might put a link at the bottom here just to make sure you have that. But yeah, man, yeah, it was rough. Growing up, like you got. I don't want to go into old man kind of yells at cloud mode here, but you kids today don't realize how easy you have it. I mean, this was what we had as representation before, like, Batman came along, and then he had the 3 movies, and then Nolan came around, and then the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Spider-Man, and X-Men, and bursted into, like, having 3 or 4 comic book movies every year. We were thirsty and hungry for any kind of representation of superheroes that we would actually gladly accept this Drek. So, do you have fond memories of this thing? Do you find it's kitschy and silly but still fun? Do you have a like fond memories of it? Do you feel like it's went down as being a good thing in your memory? You like it, and you think me calling it Drek is an insult, and you want to challenge me to a duel at dawn? Put it in the comments and let me know. I'm not going to duel you. I'm not. I don't even own a gun. I have nobody to be my second. So, get that out of your head. But if you want to talk to me about like how you liked it and stuff like this, please put in the comments and stuff like this. If you have any other memories of this, if you have maybe backstage, behind the scenes knowledge about this, maybe you work for Marvel and you found out about this and you have information to say this, put in the comments. If you like this segment, hit the like button. I have no problem with that. I really appreciate it. It helps the algorithm. And if you like something like this, my trip down memory lane, please, by all means, let me know and subscribe, because this is going to be every Wednesday for the foreseeable future, and I have a whole bunch of videos already in the can that you can choose from about me and my memories of growing up as a comic book collector. My first comic book I picked up, how I remember what Migos meant to me, like how it came into the collecting and everything like that. Give it a shot, and I would appreciate that too. So that's all I have for right now. Thank you for coming out, and if you liked it, like I said, do all that things, and until next time, keep on collecting.